Hi folks, my name is Brad Schroeder. I'm the Fleet Director for Dick's Auto Group out here in Hillsboro, Oregon. I wanted to take a couple quick minutes to take you on a tour of a couple of trucks that we just got in that are pretty exciting. These are Knapheide KMT Mechanics Bodies. As you can see, there's an awful lot of equipment. We'll take some time to go through that. If you want to come out and check out this truck live in action, you can come see us at 767 Southwest Baseline Street in Hillsboro, Oregon. First things first, let's talk about the chassis itself. This is a 2019 Ram 5500 Regular Cab. It is a 2YA or a tradesman package, which means that it has the world-class 6.7 liter Cummins mated up with the IS and 6-speed automatic transmission. That power plant will deliver roughly 360 horsepower and about 800 foot-pounds of torque, which is an increase over last year of about 50 foot-pounds. So it's a very capable power plant. This is a 4x4 chassis with an 84 cab to axle, which represents a 12-foot bed, as you can see on here. Just some real basic packages that are on this one. It has the chrome appearance package, which you can see in the grille up front, and you have the trailer tow mirrors. As you can see, those are flipped up, which are pretty necessary based on the size of the bed that's on the truck. It also has the 5.0 RA2 radio, which is our Bluetooth radio for this model year. Now, the first part of the bed that I really want to talk about with you is I want to talk about the crane controller. So on the inside here, we'll do our best to show you. When you come in, you'll notice that behind the back seat here, there's actually a charging port for that crane controller. When you get out of the vehicle, you can take this controller with you. The one really nice thing is that when you get back into the vehicle, that docking port senses whether or not this remote is inside the truck. If it is not in there, the overhead chime of the truck will start beeping, giving you an indication that this isn't inside. It's great for you on the job site because if you leave these behind, they're pretty expensive. Another thing that's really nice about it is it's magnetic, so you can actually stick it on the side of the truck pretty much anywhere around the body, anywhere around the sides here. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in here and we'll continue on. There we go. So as we come through, you've got a bunch of boxes that you can see on the outside. The first box here is actually built as a heavy-duty tool chest. So the top drawers here that pull out with an easy glide system. These are capable of holding roughly 350 pounds of tools and or materials. As you come down, you'll end up with larger cabinets, and down here, these larger cabinets will actually hold up to 500 pounds of capacity of tools and materials. Here you've obviously got some additional dividers and carrying capacity for some other equipment. Up top here, you'll notice that there is a compressor. This compressor is PTO driven, so it will run off of the engine of the truck itself. It is a 36 CFM capacity compressor. It'll produce roughly 150 PSI if you need it to, but generally speaking, tools that you'd run off of it, probably going to be somewhere in the 90 to 100 PSI level. As we come back, we have an additional cabinet that opens up here. We've gone ahead and we've installed some of Knapheide Sortimo toolboxes. It just gives you a nice dividing area for you to pull out and actually put some additional equipment in here. The back cabinet here, when it opens up, is just some additional storage, kind of like you saw on the front. And then down here on the back, you have a pass-through cabinet that actually will give you the ability to have some larger conduit tubes or whatever the case may be. One of the things that I really like about the way that Knapheide puts these beds together, though, is if you notice all across the top here, all across the bed back, and then here is actually Rhino line, so it keeps the bed nice and protected when you're driving down the road and in the elements like we have out here, you know, in Oregon. You have a Class 5 receiver hitch capable of 18,000 pounds towing. And then here's one of the things I really like about this is you've actually got this plate here that's built for you to have a vice grip attached directly onto any one of these pre-drilled holes. And then you would slide it down into the gap there. Through this conduit pass-through, there's actually a cotter pin, so you can lock that into place. You don't have to worry about somebody coming and taking your vice grip. Here is actually where the pull-out is for the compressor hose. So this is where you'd be running all of your compressor tools. So as we come around the side here, we're going to come to the brains of the operation of this truck. This front cabinet here is actually where all the control takes place for the compressor and for the crane itself. You've got your on-off box here, which is what powers up the system. It's fully PTO driven, so your compressor as well as your crane are going to run directly off the transmission. And then here's your control panel for what you're turning on. The first portion here is strobe lights, which actually strobes out the back lights and the front lights so that when you're in oncoming traffic or you're on the side of the road, people can see you. The next one turns on your compartment lights, so each one of the cabinets themselves have a bright LED white light that'll turn on. Here's where you operate the crane, so with this button you push that That'll activate the crane, turn it on, and then you can use the remote control that we talked about earlier to operate that. This one will turn on your compressor. Now, one thing, because it's PTO driven, you can't be using the compressor and the crane at the same time, but generally speaking, you probably wouldn't be doing both of those things. As we come down, here's the ability to turn on the LED lights for the street side, so the driver's side, and then this will turn on these LED lights for the passenger side. And you can see those all around the truck. So when you're, you know, on a job site at nighttime, you have a really bright, vibrant white light in order to light up the entire area that you're working in. These controls here are what control the outriggers, and so this button will actually extend out just the passenger side outrigger, and then these two levers here are what lower those down to the ground. The important thing to keep in mind is you have a level built into the body itself here, and so as you're using those outriggers, the ultimate goal obviously would bring you to a zero line when you're trying to operate the crane. One thing I really like about what Knapheide does, though, is the cabinet here, which is where the crane body or the crane itself exists, is actually its own standalone case. It's reinforced with steel plates that have been welded together in the back here, but Knapheide does this specifically for one reason. Over time, when you're using that crane, it puts a lot of force on the body, and what you'll end up seeing is you'll start seeing stress fractures within the paint or within the metal itself on the rest of the body here if that crane was supplying force to the front half of this cabinet. As it's separated here, that force is directed directly down into this steel plate here, and it doesn't cause a lot of that bowing that would occur up front. It basically means that the body's going to last a lot longer. Now, one thing about the crane itself, this is a Stellar 7621. This crane is a maximum payload of 7,500 pounds. Now, keep in mind that 7,500 pounds is at its most vertical short arm that it could possibly have, but as you extend all the way out, you'll see here that we've got a nice little graph. We can go out as far as 21 feet, and it'll produce about 1,835 pounds of lifting force for that crane, which makes this a really substantial PTO-driven crane. Should be able to get most of the job done that you need to out on a job site. As we come forward, we have an additional cabinet here. This cabinet's just going to be another place for you to have some tools or some materials stored. Another vertical cabinet here with some additional storage. These storage compartments actually are movable, so if you want to take this drawer and you want to move it up higher, or this shelf, move it down lower, whatever the case may be, you have the ability to. And then the front cabinet here is a bottle cabinet. You've already got built-in 500-pound straps here to store those bottles up against the wall. Then you got some hooks for your lines, and then you've got some additional things here. One thing to point out is this center divider is actually removable, so if you actually wanted to extend this cabinet out, all you have to do is pull a couple of bolts. This piece will come out, and then you would remove the shelves, which basically doubles the amount of space that you have in this cabinet if you wanted to add some additional bottles. I appreciate you taking your time with me on this tour of this truck. Come out and see us at 767 Southwest Baseline Street in Hillsboro, Oregon. Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Stellar.